Welcome to another episode of What You Doing, the podcast where we talk about challenging the status quo. And I am so thrilled today to have the wonderfully talented Siobhan Mackenzie sitting beside me here. Welcome, Siobhan.
Thank you.
So, this is your first time in the podcast studio in Glasgow?
Yes.
Well, welcome. Mark and Cam take great care of us here. So we're going to go to talk about your brand and all the exciting things you've been doing. But can I ask you to start with telling me about Siobhan, the wee girl who was inspired to create this wonderful brand?
Yeah. So I wanted to be a fashion designer since I was 10, but before that, I was always just sketching and it was always clothes. I was much more of an introverted child. I mean, I actually got thrown out of Highland dancing because that was my worst nightmare, was dancing in front of people because I was so introverted. So the teacher actually said to my mum, I think especially doesn't come back because I wouldn't do it. So I was much more comfortable and happy just drawing clothes. And then, so the grand old age of 10, I decided that meant that I was going to be a fashion designer. So proudly announced to my mum and dad that that was what I was going to do. And, what really amazes me is that they were like, okay. And, they've supported me every day since. They've never once, tried to make me change my mind or try and lead me down a different path. They've just always knew, I guess they knew that they knew I was serious. I was deadly serious at 10 years old saying, I'm going to be a fashion designer. They were like, okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So alongside my pocket money, and then my mum and dad helped as well. I bought my first sewing machine when I was 13. So I'm from the Black Isle, just north of Inverness, a place called Fortrose. So it's not particularly a fashion capital.
No.
So, when I used to say I'm going to be a fashion designer, and people were like, but you're just a girl from a small village in the Highlands. And my thinking even then, as a kid, I was like, someone has to make it. Yeah. Why not me?
Absolutely.
Why not a girl from the Highlands?
Absolutely, Siobhan. So you were 13 when you got your first sewing machine. Mm-hmm. I think I was 13 when I got my first sewing machine.
Wow, really?
Because my dad negotiated with me I loved sewing at first and second year. And when you get to the stage where you've got to choose the subjects.
Yes.
So when people, I think I was kind of labelled as bright. And so my dad was really keen that I would choose 2 languages and 2 sciences. And in exchange for that, he would buy me my first sewing machine. So my first, because he knew the sales rep for, I think it was a New Home sewing machine. Okay. I don't know if that still exists. But I went to go and choose from all of these sewing machines and I absolutely loved it. So snap.
Wow, that's amazing.
But because it's such a love, it's to create something as beautiful as what you create. It's just a joy.
Yeah, it's so therapeutic. But my home economics teacher, Mrs. Johansson, she taught me to sew. So that wasn't in the curriculum. She did that off her own back because she knew that's what I wanted to do.
Mrs. Johansson, we love Mrs. Johansson.
Yeah, so she was a total treasure to be able to do that for me and just give me the basic skills of learning to sew. So I did some cushions, and then I've still got the first top I ever made.
Have you? Yeah. What does it look like?
And it's black and white polka dot. It's the strapless top. It's all ruched on one side. It's kind of like an asymmetric cut. It's quite nice, actually.
Love it. I vividly remember making a white linen top, which actually I wore in one of the very early dates with my husband, who I've been married to for 32 years. But it was all little pleats round the top, and my mum's an absolute perfectionist. She had worked on lapels for Dax.
Oh wow.
So anything I didn't do 100% right, I had to unpick and redo it. So I got this top finished, and I went out with it tucked into pedal pushers with the hem unfinished because I wanted to wear it to my date that night.
That's amazing. So
I love the story of your first top. So tell us what happened from there. Where did you go from Mrs. Johansson and the home economics department?
So I learned obviously what I needed to get into kind of uni and or college, and that was my goal. But what I didn't really kind of anticipate along the way was I became quite unwell with a stomach condition. So throughout my exam years, 4th, 5th and 6th year, I was in hospital a lot, and I think my attendance was like 38%. And so that was kind of an unpredicted hurdle that I hadn't prepared for. And actually, she was the only teacher that supported me at a really rough time in school where because I'd missed so much, others kind of just didn't see the point in trying to help me. And my mum was getting phoned at work and trying to get me to drop out of subjects and not take exams instead of just letting me try. And I had one particular teacher tell me that I would never get into college, I would never get into uni, and I'd never be a fashion designer. I say with a smile on my face because I knew that I would. And I think sometimes things like that just fuel you more, and that kind of lit the fire in my belly where I was like, okay, watch me.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
100%. Absolutely. Do you know, isn't it sad that we have these people, particularly in our schools? Yeah. Because I can still, like you're naming your teachers, I can still name the teachers.
Yeah.
My sons who are now 27 and 23, I know the teachers,
yes.
and they can name the teachers. Because you see that whole, you know, that belief in, you know, that's one of the things that I find as a Scot. You know, we live with this culture of, you know, sort of don't get above your station. But actually, we've got an awful lot of light to shine on what we do as a nation. And you are doing such a brilliant job.
Thank you.
Of doing that. So your brand, let's move on to your global brand. Yes. Actually, can I tell a little bit the story of how I was introduced to your global brand? So I had the very good fortune to be at the Scottish Edge. I didn't know what the Scottish Edge was. Sorry, Evelyn. In my first year of being self-employed, which I'm now just about to hit my 10th year of being self-employed. But I arrived at the Scottish Edge and you walked up onto the stage, and I just thought, this is the most beautiful kilt I have ever seen. And it was Red Mackenzie.
Red Wallace, I think.
Red Wallace, was it? Okay, thank you for correcting me. So, and I just remember you walking onto the stage and thinking, one day I would love to have one of those kilts. And I started to follow you on LinkedIn, Instagram, and anywhere else I could follow your journey, because I just saw the talent and I saw the quality and the craft of what you were trying to do. So fast forward a few years, and I was at NYSCC. I worked mostly in the cosmetic industry. So I was at the New York Society of Cosmetic Chemists, and it was December. And I was walking along Fifth Avenue because I was there for work, but I'm a mum, so I need to do my Christmas shopping somewhere. And I remember seeing your design in Bergdorf's.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow. Yeah. It was incredible. And I had actually just recently been in a Highland dress shop in Aberdeen, because for our son was about to graduate the following year, Michael, and I'd been in this lovely Highland shop in Aberdeen because he was choosing his trews. So he graduated his final law ball and his graduation. He was in trews, which I still love. And so I was it was all sort of serendipitous timing.
Yes.
And I came back from New York. We had obviously had all our family time over Christmas. Michael went to his law ball, I think around the February. And Sam, who was his flatmate, Samantha, fabulous girl, who was born in Bangladesh, said, "What are you wearing to his graduation, Mum?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. What's your mum wearing?" And she was wearing traditional Bangladesh dressed for Sam's graduation. So I thought, this is my moment.
Yes.
To have my Siobhan Mackenzie kilt. So I think I messaged you and said, "Where is your stockist in Scotland?" And you replied,
Didn't have any.
Didn't have any.
Yeah. And
I couldn't believe it. But you said, "But I can design." What are you thinking? So my family name, prior to being a McDaniel, I was a Matheson. So Michael had chosen his trews in the modern hunting Matheson, which you kindly sent me a sample of in this glorious box. I still remember this box coming through the door. It was so wonderful because it was so personal. You'd so listened to what I wanted. Yeah. And I knew that Michael's trews were going to be in so this is my base fabric. So they were this.
Yes.
So I chose the ancient hunting because he's modern and I'm ancient. And it was the most lovely. And, to this day, I've worn it quite a few times this summer. I wore it last Friday night to Hamilton Park races. And every time I wear my kilt, someone asks me about it.
That's amazing.
Absolutely amazing. So how do we how do we see you now? How do people get to see everything you're doing now, Siobhan? Where does the interest in your business come from? What's the work that you're doing to build this global brand that you're building so well? Are you still in Bergdorf's?
I'm not at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, that was amazing. That was my first ever stockist to be Bergdorf Goodman. Unbelievable. So I was actually handpicked by Linda Fargo, who's their SVP.
Yes.
She walked into my showroom in Paris Fashion Week and decided she was taking it for her own edit within Bergdorf's, which was just unbelievable because, the month before actually I'd gone out to New York and I walked into Bergdorf's and I just thought, oh my God, this is the dream store. Imagine having your brand in here alongside all of the super brands. Yes. And the next month she placed an order to stock my brand, which was just incredible. To say Bergdorf's your first ever stockist is
what a story.
Yeah, amazing. But yeah, I wore that same kilt down Fifth Avenue also, and this was before I was in Bergdorf's too. And this woman chased me down the street in Fifth Avenue, and she was like, "Where is that skirt from?" And I was like, well, firstly, it's a kilt. Secondly, I'm the designer. And so she walked with me to my hotel and bought some.
Wow.
So I didn't even need a shop in New York. I was just selling walking down the street.
I'm not surprised.
So yeah, it's amazing. And like New York's an amazing market for me, and overseas and international. Yes. Sales are great. So I still don't have a stockist in Scotland.
But we have a pop-up coming, which we're so excited about.
But it's really interesting. There's just such a difference in the consumer mindsets. I think the UK is definitely getting there with understanding the supply chain and the traceability and actually investing into pieces. It's something I've never had any contention with the US clients or so on, because they get the authenticity and the quality and the product, whereas we're kind of fed fast fashion so much in the UK that it can just be brainwashing. Yeah. But I do think consumers now are becoming so much more aware of who's made their product, where it's come from, and is it going to last?
Yes, exactly. Because I think something, my own kilt is 5 years old, and it will be my iconic piece in my wardrobe for the rest of my life. So what an investment that is.
Absolutely. And what was really interesting, so one of my pieces was in the V&A Tartan exhibition.
Yes.
But alongside that was this amazing outfit by Vivienne Westwood, and it was made the same year that I was born, which is 31 years ago, but it looked brand new. And I was like, if anyone ever needs an example of why to invest in wool and quality made product, because it looked fresh off the sewing machine. And that was 30 years old at the time.
Yes. But, I think I hope and I pray and I believe that we're going to come full circle, because certainly as a child, I had a full kilt in this tartan.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Which I remember it being chosen at a mill in Moffat. Yeah. So it was my school kilt.
Yeah.
And I think now we want to get back to that whole, not having just an excess of everything, but having the quality pieces that are true to us, and I think that goes through everything. When you're talking about your education and your gifting and your talent is unique to you, mine's unique to me, and isn't that a great thing? Yeah. And I think when we see that come through, and that education piece comes through to the consumers, I've done some work recently with the wonderful Jo and Stuart Chidley, and what they're doing, to try and really make the consumer conscious of the plastic and everything else, so that we're being the best version of ourselves, but we're looking after our world.
Yes.
So
that is really important to me. So my dad actually was an environment officer my entire upbringing. So that is very much ingrained into who I am and the way I operate. And that's why, using sustainable materials and making it in Scotland was a very natural choice for me, because my upbringing was to not be wasteful and be mindful of my environmental footprint. So, for example, I keep my fabrics, and then any offcuts and things like that I'll make into other products, and just repurpose things, because we have just these amazing textiles on our doorstep, and wool is one of the most sustainable,
beautiful,
natural fibres that you can work with.
Absolutely. So Are we allowed to talk about some of the famous people that you've made for?
Of course.
Are we allowed to do that?
Of course.
Have you got some favourites that you'd like to share with us?
It's really hard, and a lot of people have been asking me this recently, and obviously whilst I've designed for the likes of Justin Bieber, Jared Leto, most recently Shania Twain.
Didn't Shania look incredible?
Incredible.
She was such an inspiration. You know, we sat watching her at Glastonbury. I had to Google what age she was, and I was like, did you? Okay. She looked...
Mum, she's the same age as you.
Exactly. And to see her looking so well with everything that she has handled in her life. But then when I saw her at Stirling Castle with the backdrop of Stirling Castle and Siobhan Mackenzie, I was like, oh gosh, Siobhan. So tell us how that came about.
So when I designed actually that kilt, I'd found that leopard silk. And when I designed that, which contrasted it with silk Wallace again in the red, I actually had her in mind when I'd made that. I thought, oh my gosh, I need to get this on Shania Twain somehow. And then so when I seen she was coming, I had tried a few different things. I couldn't find any information on who styled her. So I thought she's self-styling perhaps. We need to try and get a way in. So I found her manager and got through to him, and he said, I'll give you a call. And when I answered the phone, he was Scottish.
Whoa!
Yeah. So that was a great help because we like to help each other.
We certainly do.
And so he put it forward to her that this Scottish designer wants to dress you for Stirling, and she said yes.
Oh, that's wonderful! What a good news story.
Yeah.
And what's the sort of response been from that?
It's been really good. And what was so lovely of her was that she took the time out of her set to actually thank me and shout me out on stage. And on top of that, post about it on her social media channels and tag me. And that might not sound like much, but when you are kind of dressing these people, getting it on them is half the battle, because that's great. But unless they kind of follow through and actually manage to promote you and things as well, it's kind of a half executed operation. Yes. So that is actually the bit you need.
Yes.
Is for them to be able to reach out to their millions of followers and actually do that. And that's where you see the most kind of conversion. So yeah, it's been great.
Isn't it great?
I've only got one left of that style now.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And is that going to be in your pop-up, that one that's left?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about the pop-up, because I was so excited to read that this week.
Yeah, so I mean, we're doing one with Kimpton, so myself, Ishka, and then Sasana Spirits, which is owned by Sam Hewen from Outlander.
Okay.
So he has his own whiskey and gin brand. So the three of us are coming together alongside Kimpton in Edinburgh. They have number 333 Charlotte Square, which is kind of a private hotel within the hotel, which is incredible. I didn't even know that was there. It's a really stunning building.
It is.
Yeah, and I love the Kimpton hotels as a brand. I always stay in Glasgow and Edinburgh. So I love what they're all about and everything they offer, nice kind of like contemporary offering. So there's just a lot of brand alignment. And then for the three of us as brands, we all also have a lot of alignment where it's made in Scotland, it's a luxury product, it's all kind of catering really for the same target market. Yes. So it made sense actually during the Fringe, why don't we offer the luxury Scotland to people?
I absolutely love it. I've had the very good fortune to work with Leon and the team at Ishka over a number of years, and I've met all the founders, and I just love what they're doing. We have a wealth of natural resources for the personal care industry. You know, I've been blessed to work with some of the best formulators in the world in personal care, and we just have such a wealth of natural resource that can keep people their skin and their soul health.
Yes.
As optimal as it can possibly be. So I'm so excited. So when is the for our listeners who haven't maybe read about your pop-up, when is the pop-up?
So it's going to be the 8th to the 11th of August.
Fantastic.
Not 100% sure on the opening hours yet, but we'll update you.
Okay, that's great. 8th to the 11th of August, I will definitely be. In fact, I was with a business colleague yesterday who's coming with me because she wants a kilt.
Oh, amazing.
The wonderful Liz McCutcheon. Hi, Liz. She is an amazing lady. She was my startup advisor 10 years ago.
Amazing.
And she was at the races last week and she said, she's just come back from a family trip to Canada. She said, I have to have a kilt. Amazing. So Liz and I are coming.
Oh, I love that.
To the pop-up.
Get your little cocktail and
well, I don't know the drinks brand actually, so that's going to be a new experience. And whilst I'm not particularly a whiskey drinker, although somebody taught me in the Arran distillery how to prepare my mouth for whiskey. Mm-hmm. So I did actually, and I loved the liqueur, Arran Gold.
Wow.
I've never tried it.
Not.
It's kind of like a better Baileys.
Ooh. Sounds nice.
Yeah, not available everywhere that I go, but I do mention it to every opportunity that I can because it's just a lovely liqueur.
In the hope that when you go back, they've stocked it.
You've got it.
I know your plan.
But I am very partial to a gin. And love what's happening with gin in Scotland.
Yes.
I mean, my sister, who popped in this morning actually, who lives in Stonehaven, sends me Harris gin for most birthdays. Really? And it's a real treat.
Yeah.
So I look forward to the drinks.
It's very nice. Sam did actually send me a bottle to try. So
lovely
gin. I made some gin cocktails with
lovely.
So,
lovely. So what's next, Siobhan?
Oh, it's really hard when people ask that because a lot of these things kind of just come out of the blue.
Yes.
And actually going back to what I was saying was, although I've dressed all of these people, my favourite moment still, or person or people I've dressed, was the outfits for Team Scotland.
Of course.
Because, honest to God, just the feeling of designing for your country, I can't ever articulate it. I still can't articulate it because it's
a pinch me moment.
Honestly, yes. Mm-hmm. I took my mum to Birmingham to the opening ceremony with me, and I see them kind of one or two at a time when we're doing fittings. The first time I see them in a swarm is that moment. So for me, it's, the hairs on your arms are up, and it's such a full-on and busy project. It's over 400 outfits. Mm-hmm. So from the fabric right through to the end product, end look, all accessories, everything I've done. So it's quite a big project to manage. So it's not until that moment when they kind of walked out that I took a breath and I did that. Wow. So it was, really just, I don't think I'll ever be able to top that.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
What a moment though.
Yeah.
You said something there that just resonated. I took a breath and I looked at it, and I've actually brought you a little All Is Well tin. It's beside you here, and it's all about taking a breath.
Oh, amazing.
There's an aromatherapy blend called Breath of Life, and I know you're going to be mega busy next week preparing for the pop-up, so I just want you to take moments to breathe and just look at the beautiful garments that you're creating, and just wish you all of the very, very best.
Oh, thank you.
It's been my pleasure to chat to you, Siobhan Mackenzie.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us again. She's just a delight. If you can't get to Edinburgh, then follow her on Instagram. Is that the easiest way to follow you? So Siobhan Mackenzie on Instagram. Thanks again, Siobhan.
Thank you.
Till next time, take care.